I'm sure you're all tired of hearing the same old Pokemon facts over and over again. So that's why I compiled a ton of Pokemon facts that I guarantee you've never heard before. And if you have, you're a liar. Some of these can get pretty crazy, so I hope you're ready. Did you know that Ditto was inspired by a piece of gum that the developers kept around during the development of Pokemon Red and Green? They would shape it into many different forms like animals and objects and leave it in random places as a joke. In an interview, Junichi Masuda was quoted in saying, "That shit was funny as fuck." You can actually visit the piece of gum at the Pokemon Center in Japan. They refuse to throw the gum away, even after all these years. Have you ever wondered why Pokemon say their own names? Well, we're actually given the reason why. Pokemon can only say their name because when they went to Pokemon school, they had to practice introducing themselves. But they practiced so much that that's all that they're able to say now. Aw. They're all just shy. We all know Game Freak as the developers of Pokemon, but their origins go way beyond that. Game Freak actually formed the development team all the way back when they were still in school. When they were still in school, they were severely bullied. The bullies would often come up to them and call them Game Freaks. One day, they got sick and tired of it and decided to form a team. Junichi Masuda, Tsunekaze Ishihara, Reggie Films Anime, along with the others all rose up against the bullies and said, "We are Game Freak." You might think that's where the story ends, but no. This was also the inspiration behind Team Star in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm sure a question many of us have had ever since we were little was, what the hell are the things on Ash's face? Did he survive Voldemort twice? Well, no. There's actually a good reason why they're there. The reason Ash has these Z's on his face is because he's prone to oversleeping. You know, like zzz. Everyone loves to hate on Pikachu clones, but these are some of the most sentimental Pokemon to the developers. This is because each Pikachu clone is based on different rats the team had seen throughout the years. They said that Emolga was based off of a rat they saw jump from a high building and the wind being so strong that he was actually able to land safely. The team was in awe and considered the phenomenon to be a miracle, and later created Emolga as a result. Plusle and Minun were inspired by two rats that the team saw helping each other steal food from someone. Togedemaru was based on a rat that was so fat it had to roll around to get anywhere. Morpeko was based on an angry rat that broke into an ATM machine. It started eating all the money, and the more it ate, the calmer it got, but it ended up eating itself to death. Dedenne was based on a fat rat that died, and later, a couple of drunk engineer students thought they could revive it by shocking it over and over again. Turns out if you shock a dead animal enough, it'll fucking explode. Mimikyu is based on a fucked up bootleg Pikachu plush a developer brought into the Game Freak playpen one day. The developers were so outraged at the bootleg that they would often use the plush as a punching bag, tying it up to a stick and drawing on it, or writing phrases like, "You'll never beat us!" and "We are Game Freak!" This would soon become tradition, and they would do this excessively. It was a great morale booster in the office. One employee was quoted in saying, "Fuckers had it coming to them." The idea for Growlithe happened when a developer taped a flamethrower to his dog. He looked at his creation and swiftly stated, "Holy shit, this breaks the meta," then used the dog in dogfights, but was swiftly told that it was in fact illegal. Enraged, Reggie Fishstick and his good pal Ken Sugimori designed Growlithe in retaliation, and the rest is history. The reason all the protagonists wear hats is because they actually have an antenna underneath that the player is able to control them with remotely. This is also the reason that they're able to connect to the internet. In more recent games though, you'll notice that if you take off the hat of the protagonist, that they don't have their iconic little antenna anymore. This is because they've now switched to Bluetooth. The reason Gold and Silver contains both the Kanto and Johto region is because when Satoru Iwata came to visit, he accidentally deleted half of Johto, so he replaced it with Kanto in hopes nobody would notice. However, to his surprise, he was told that he was a genius and was even given time off. He went on to win many awards, and he even gave a speech where he said, "All I did was copy and paste! Leave me alone!" He's still considered a legend, even till this day. Shiny Pokemon were created as a colorblind mode. They had no idea what colorblindness was. An employee would bring Kraft Singles cheese to work every day because it was his favorite food. One day, he put it down for a second while they were designing a Pokemon and left it there. A 3D modeler thought this was part of the design and ended up leaving this on the final model. That Pokemon was Scorbunny, and this error was never caught. This happened again with Fuecoco, but they liked it so much the first time that they decided to keep it. Piplup is based on a penguin that would frequently visit Game Freak HQ. He wore a tuxedo and was essentially a therapy animal for the stressed out employees. But the penguin fucked up a lot of the code. That's actually where Missing No came from. They made a whole documentary about the penguin called Happy Feet. Pretty good. The inspiration for Ponyta came from when a developer ended up seeing a circus incident where a horse jumped through a flaming hoop, but it missed by a little and was set on fire. It scared him so much that he had to show the others. However, they pat him on the back and said good job. Not wanting to ruin his moment, he laughed it off, but the memory still haunts him till this day. Did you know that Applin is based on a real experience Game Freak had? During the development of Pokemon Pokemon Sword and Shield, a developer brought a ton of apples and said one of them had a worm, so they essentially played Russian roulette with them. However, when the worm was found, instead of throwing it away, the developer kept it in his desk. But one day, a staff member decided to make an apple pie, and the apple was missing. Mourning his worm friend, he designed Appleton with a pie motif to cope with the loss. However, a few days later, a butterfly was found flying around in the office. The developer was overjoyed and created Flapple in celebration. Did you know that the creator of Pokemon had a friend who would paint his pet rat yellow and shock it for fun, which gave him the idea for Pikachu? He was quoted in saying, "Truth be told, I thought it was the funniest thing ever as a kid, letting our imaginations run wild, imagining animals with crazy powers. But looking at it now, I feel nothing but guilt over the poor rat. The scariest part is I heard he's having a kid soon." The reason Pikachu has gotten skinnier over the years is because his weight loss journey was meant to be a collaboration with Subway. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, Jared, the collaboration was ultimately scrapped, but Pikachu still has his story to tell. The Pokewalker was made to physically trap Pokemon and hold them hostage, specifically Illumise and Volbeat. The team hated them so much that they would keep both of them in Pokewalkers for months at a time, letting the battery die and damaging the charging port so there was no hope for survival. They still have these original Pokewalkers at Game Freak headquarters, but they are currently under lock and key, making sure that these demons will never see the light of day again. One question, Masuda claims to have no idea what you're talking about, but if pressed on, he will get visibly upset and even angry. The inspiration for Gibble came from when a worker was on an LSD trip watching Sharknado. On his way to get a refill and snacks, he thought he saw a short stubby shark with legs chasing him down and wanting to kill him. In all actuality, the shark was after his snacks, but even so, he never watched Sharknado again. Wangle was made after Miyamoto saw Finding Nemo for the first time. He thought it was so funny that he decided to make a Pokemon all about it. He was later informed that seagulls were in fact a real animal. It remains his favorite Pokemon till this day, and whenever you so much as mention it, he can't help but crack a smile. However, not every Pokemon's origins are fun in games. Sandygast was made after a horrifying experience. A worker at Game Freak recalls that when he was little, apparently people would bury their pets at the beach he lives near. He thought nothing of it, but one day, he and his friends decided to have a competition to see who could find the coolest thing at the beach. He had completely forgotten about how people would bury their pets, and while he was digging, he claims he saw one of the dead pets trying to grab him and pull him deeper into the sand. In the interview, he said, "All I could remember was screaming, I don't like the beach as much as I used to, and I still shake when I step on sand. Even just seeing it, I can't help but think that something is gonna get me." The idea for Pokemon came to Sugimori when he was younger. He would go around his neighborhood and steal all of the neighbors' pets. He would then make them fight in a battle royale, and the winner was allowed to go home. He would often give them hats, weapons, cover them in dirt, cover them in water, or light a candle on their head to give them special attributes. He wanted to share just how fun this game he had created was with the world, but apparently it's called dog fighting and it's illegal. Confused, he went to his school and asked the kids he bullied and called Game Freaks to work for him. After bribing them with a half-eaten Snickers bar and a nice cold Dr. Pepper, they agreed to help, and the rest is history. In Pokemon games, you usually need the item running shoes to travel faster. When asked about why this is the case, Shigeru Miyamoto said that there was coffee in the shoes, allowing the player to move faster. But in Unova, the running shoes contain peppers. He refused to elaborate on this. In Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, if you use the HM for surf and then fly away right after, the Pokemon that you were surfing on would be abandoned, resulting in that Pokemon not being in your party anymore. If you were to return to the same spot, the Pokemon will now be aggressive towards you and will challenge you to a fight. This was later removed in Pokemon Platinum because parents complained that it didn't work in real life when dropping off their kids at daycare. Ho-Oh is based on a peacock statue that was located near Game Freak's headquarters. But here's the kicker. It wasn't even a peacock, it was a turkey. When the locals of the town confronted Game Freak about it, they were angry and would often protest outside of Game Freak's building, saying things like, "Hey, can you please change this? It's actually a turkey." And "It's okay, it's an easy mistake to make." This got so bad to the point that Game Freak had to move to a brand new town and burn down their old headquarters. This was also the inspiration behind the burned tower in Pokemon Gold and Silver, and why Ho-Oh had something to do with it. They hated Ho-Oh so much after this that they gave Lugia a whole movie as a big fuck you to Ho-Oh. And just to add salt to the wound, they even gave Lugia its own game, being Pokemon XD. During the creation of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a small team at Game Freak was sent to see what it was like in Mexico. They saw tons of people celebrating the Day of the Dead and saw people with skull paint and wearing sombreros. That gave them the idea for Crocolore. After their business trip, they were informed that they in fact visited the wrong country. They were supposed to go to Spain. They shrugged and said close enough and decided to include it anyway. Bidoofs were used in protest campaign posters after hunters were killing poor beavers who were just trying to build a dam to keep a small town from flooding. Many rallies were formed chanting, "They're just beavers building building a dam! But the hunters heard differently. They heard, Justin Bieber's drinking again? Upset at this news, the hunters continued killing the beavers, now as angry as ever, and sadly, it was too late. Too many beavers were killed, and they couldn't keep building the dam, causing the small town to flood. There's actually a way to guarantee yourself a shiny Pokemon in every game. You would have to paint your entire cartridge a different color. This would trick the game into thinking that normal encounters are shinies, and shiny encounters are normal, essentially flipping them around. This strategy was so efficient that shiny hunters shame you for using it, saying that it was too easy. That's mostly why you don't hear about it anymore. Pikachu was featured in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, but he was filled with too much air, resulting in him popping halfway through the parade. Many children were injured and Pikachu was forced to give an apology. However, in the apology, he said that he wasn't sorry and that he would in fact do it again, all while holding a ukulele. In X and Y, there's a secret feature in Pokemon Ami where your Pokemon can actually hear you. Game Freak added this because they wanted your Pokemon to hear what you really think of them. If you said something nice, it would help your friendship level go up, but if you said something mean, they would lose friendship and even make it so they do less damage in battle. And I know some of you guys like your Pokemon a little too much, so if you said anything weird, it would flat out not obey you at all. Thank God. One of the designers for Gengar said that their inspiration comes from a story he heard as a kid. A couple of troublemakers who got themselves killed doing their shenanigans claimed that even after death, they wanted to cause more trouble. If you were being followed by one of their spirits, they would do everything in their power to ruin your day. This is the main reason Tomodachi Life 2 hasn't come out yet. If you're the dumbass being haunted by one of these spirits, take one for the team. I want to play Tomodachi Life 2 already! For Pokemon Sleep, the Pokemon Company had a collaboration with NyQuil. They featured Snorlax on the box. However, it was revealed that the NyQuil was not actually safe for children. The kids who took the NyQuil are still asleep and are estimated to wake up in 2034, with around 2 to 3 shinies. Oh, would you look at the time and date? Well, that's okay. We just about covered everything. What's that? You want a source? I made it up. Anyways, leave some facts for me to read. Like the video, comment, follow my socials. This truly was a Rogue Renegade. Bye, people.